Welcome to Calamity Lore by 3. Let's get right into it. While I was researching for this episode, I found something astonishing. The main thing I was going to focus on in this episode is incredibly lacking in lore. And so to pad out this episode, here is all the current information about
a sorry old man, cursed by an even older cult, caught trespassing on their ancient library. They were once my friends. Their leader is infatuated with dragons and dreams of resurrecting one. The very walls of this place are cursed further still. The magic has long since faded and the soldiers rotted. Do not expect to learn much from those tattered tomes. They are penned with misguided zeal.
And what do you think happened to those rotted soldiers?
The further my war dragged on, the further I sank into negligence. I hid behind my excuses, calling them duties. The scores of prisoners I kept in the dungeon I claimed perished alongside their jailers. Within those hexed walls, none may know rest. Their souls coalesce into a formless monster, boiling with rage, wallowing in sorrow, screaming in madness. The amalgamation was uncontrollable. The dragon cult was furious, their leader demanding I put the hunt down myself. I did not answer. I had long since become deaf to the world outside my crusade. Do not fall as I have.
Oh, and yeah, the rest of the dungeon lore is the same, like this entry from the bestiary. The spirits within the dungeon only vaguely recall their lives. And yet, there's one thing each and all clearly remember that drives them to chaos. The man responsible for locking them in these cursed walls and his overwhelming power. Power that they have been reminded of due to one ever-growing in strength roaming their halls. The one ever-growing in strength probably means us, the Terrarian. The only other interesting thing in the dungeon is the lunatic cultist, who has no lore item, instead dropping the interlude lore item. They do get a line in it, however.
One mortal, sworn to the service of the dragons, rose in determination to save their virtuous king.
While technically not explicitly stating that the mortal is the lunatic cultist, it's basically explicitly stating that the mortal is the lunatic cultist. But now you know literally everything, basically, about the dungeon, which is a shame because I think they could do a lot more with lunatic cultists, to be honest. I think the dragon cult lore would be sweet. Speaking of sweet, what about Miss Honey, the... Now I have already covered part of the Queen Bee's lore in the first lore bite, but I'd like to go into a little more depth.
While of tremendous size, these creatures are docile until aggravated. Their idyllic demeanor is a rarity nowadays, a thing of beauty. In the past, entire villages would spring up around these grand hives, peacefully harvesting their share of the honey and protecting them from danger. Though its death is understandable given the circumstances, I do feel pity for these majestic beings. Fate was cruel to many of their kind.
This reveals a side of Yarem we haven't seen much before. The soft side. He likes bees, which makes me happy because I also like bees. Maybe not to his level though, as you'll see in a later episode that I can't wait to get to. You can also see a similar sentiment from Yarem in Aquatic Scourge's lore item, in the line,
"What a stark contrast to the rest of the ecosystem. Nearly every other creature in the Sulphur Sea is hostile. A shame that its last bastion of tranquility has fallen."
Queen Bee's home, the jungle, is of interest to me, being one of the most lore-relevant biomes. We know from the Queen Bee lore item that people once lived in the jungle, and we have some clues as to what they did during their stay.
Taking their mastery of agriculture to new heights, the jungle settlers bred a special sprout through ritual blessing of the soil. It was fed legions of souls. Elders of the village wished to bring forth a new age of botanical prosperity.
We can even see a remnant of their stomping grounds in-game in the Vernal Pass, The vernal pass has many large flower buds, which upon breaking spawns Plantera. These must then be the special sprouts mentioned in the Plantera lore item. I wonder if these jungle dwellers were followers of Silva, the goddess of life. Though if they were, I'd expect the Silva armor to contain anything you could find in the vernal pass, but it doesn't. So there is no clear evidence that they are her followers, though the Dryads are. It's incredible that these now abandoned sanctuaries are here, and structures like this are something I'd love to see more of in Calamity mod. And that's a wrap. I think I will be cutting ties between the Yo-Yo only series and these lore bites, so I can make videos about the lore that cover one topic in its entirety, and not a bunch of unrelated stuff. I'll also be doing episodes on characters, such as Yarim, Draydon, and Calamitous, at some point in the future. Another thing, this video may look a lot different than the last two, as I got a new laptop. Exciting, I know. However, this new laptop does not support Premiere Pro for some reason, and so I'm familiarizing myself with DaVinci Resolve instead. I was already thinking of switching over anyway, so don't worry about me. Well, that's all for me. Sele out.